Good afternoon. Welcome to the November 10th, 2020 meeting of the Town Council Charter Review Committee. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, this meeting is being videotaped and audio recorded, as well as being remotely broadcasted via a Zoom webinar. If there is anyone in our viewing audience who is taping this meeting, would you please announce yourself? Seeing and hearing none, our first order of business is who is going to take minutes today?
If it's my turn, I'm up.
All right, Phil Adams, thank you, sir. We have minutes of our meeting of October 27th, 2020. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Made by Marilyn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Phil Adams. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Larry Levine, yes. Phil Adams?
Yes.
Bill Fonseca?
Abstain.
Jeff Bosworth?
Yes.
Ralph Page?
Abstain.
Tom Christensen?
Yes.
Marilyn Richards?
Yes.
So these are, and I know that Andy Frazier will be absent tonight. So we had left off in Article 8, Section 7, and there was some discussion about why the requirement of the amount of needed signatures for the initial recall petition and a subsequent follow-up petition. Correct?
Correct.
Anyone had chance to look at the old Charter Commission tapes where that was discussed? Well, the discussion was whether or not to have it a strict percentage and what the percentage would be as opposed to a raw number, and the significance and seriousness of the recall petition, and that's why the numbers were established. Bill and Ralph, anything to add to that?
The only thing I can recall is we wanted to make sure that, I want to say it, I want to be careful how I say it, that people took it serious and it wouldn't be too easy to start the recall because of the severity of it. So we wanted to present, people would have to work to get this thing rolling.
Jeannie, is that a hand or just?
What was that? Just
Okay, thank you. So where we left off was, I don't know if you all have, are you all looking at page 23 of the charter?
right.
Yes.
It's subparagraph of section 7, subparagraph E as in Edward.
Correct.
So let me read said subsection E, form of question. The ballots used when voting on a recall proposed by the voters under this section shall contain a question in substantially the following form. Shall, here insert the name and title of the elected official whose recall is sought, be recalled, question mark. There are checkbox for either yes or no. Questions, comments? Seeing or hearing none, no action on that subsection. Subsection F, time of taking effect. If a majority of the voters cast upon the question of recall is in the affirmative, such elected officials shall be immediately recalled. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, no action on F. Subsection G is in George. Repeat of recall. In the case of an elected official subjected to a recall election and not recalled thereby, comma, no recall petition shall be filed against such official until at least 120 days after the election at which the official's recall was submitted to the voters of the town, period. Any discussion, questions, comments? Seeing and hearing none, no action on J. Subsection H, elected official recall. No person who has been recalled from an office or who has resigned from office while recall proceedings were pending against such person, comma, shall be appointed to any elective town office within 2 years after such recall or such resignation, period. Discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, no action. Now we move to Article 9, General Provisions. Section 1, Charter Changes. This charter may be replaced, comma, revised, or amended in accordance with any procedure made available, under the Constitution of the Commonwealth or by general or specific law, period.
Special law.
What's that?
It states special law, not specific.
What did I say?
Specific.
Hold on a second. Okay.
He's gonna have a drink.
I take that back. It's a special law rather than specific law. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, no action on Section 1. Section 2, periodic review of charter. The town council shall provide, comma, in every year ending in a 0, comma, for a review of the charter by a special committee to be established by bylaw, period. The committee shall file a report within 1 year recommending any changes to the charter which it deems necessary or desirable, comma, unless an extension is authorized by vote of the town council, period. All members of the committee shall be voters of the town, period. The town council shall vote upon the recommendations in the report within 90 days of receipt of the recommendations, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, no action on Section 2.
Larry,
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
I was just wondering why it was a 10-year period.
Why is what? I'm sorry.
Why the charter was a 10-year period for review instead of, say, 5?
One guess is, if my memory's working, the amount of work. You can see how much work is involved. That was probably a primary reason. That's a mandatory time, Jeff. The council could always ask and appoint a committee if needed to review certain sections if they wanted. This is just that we felt it was important to at least have a 10-year review. Ours is the earlier because of the time, but they always have the prerogative of looking at it at any time and appointing the subcommittee to do such.
Okay, I was just curious.
Ralph?
So Larry, just to follow up on that, you're right, this is a mandatory time. And that's because what had happened in the past with like general bylaws is they would just go on and on and on. and no one would review them as a whole. So we felt as though the charter, you needed to mandate that every 10 years you review it as a whole. But in the process, in the meantime, if there was some language that needed to be changed, the town council could adjust it accordingly.
Okay. Good, Jeff?
Yep, I'm fine. Yep.
Okay. All right, section 3, periodic review of bylaws. The town council shall provide, not later than July 1, at 10-year intervals, in each year ending in a 5, for a review to be made of the general bylaws of the town to prepare a proposed revision or recodification of them, period. This review shall be made by a committee to be established by bylaw, period. All members of the committee shall be voters of the town, period. The special committee shall file its report with the town clerk at a date specified by bylaw, period. The review of bylaws shall be under the supervision of the town attorney, period. The town council shall vote upon the recommendations in the report within 90 days of receipt of the recommendations, period. Discussion, question, comments?
We haven't done this review yet, have we? Of the bylaws?
It's ongoing right now, correct, Tom?
Well,
Well, not really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yes, Ralph?
so what's going on is a recodification of the bylaws, both general and zoning, but not necessarily looking at the general bylaws specifically to suggest changes. That'll happen in 2025.
I'm
That
busy.
happened, Marilyn, that we did that after the charter went into effect,
The general bylaws, yes.
general bylaws.
Right.
We did review it section by section. I
So
don't know why
Larry,
what's that, Ralph?
that was only to bring it
Right.
into conformity
Oh, with
with,
the charter?
yeah,
All right.
exactly. It wasn't to,
Take out selectmen and all the other
Yeah.
language
All right,
doesn't apply anymore.
okay.
Question, in this section, does it also include the zoning bylaws at that 5-year interval? Ralph is shaking his head no.
no,
No.
it specifically states general.
So is there, I don't recall, is there a section where the zoning bylaws are also looked at?
I don't
No.
believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Maybe, I don't know, Jeannie, Ralph. During this recodification, the Conservation Commission proposed a change to our bylaw to bring it,
It's in
clarify
there.
some points and to bring it.
It's in there.
Oh, it's in there?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
what we did is we went to all the department heads, gave them their section and just said, hey, take a look at it. But as everybody's saying, there's no major changes in the bylaws, just kind of bringing them up to date a little bit. Some
Okay.
language, some wordsmithing, things like that. It's not a general review of the bylaws.
So when will this take effect? Do we know yet?
When we're done, it's an awful lot
It's
of work.
getting there.
We're getting there. We're in the process of reviewing a draft right now.
Okay.
Anything else? Seeing and hearing none, no action on section 3. Section 4, severability. The provisions of this charter are severable, period. If any provision of this charter is held invalid, the other provisions shall not be affected thereby, period. If the application of this charter, or any of its provisions, to any person or circumstances held invalid, comma, the application of this charter and its provisions to other persons and circumstances shall not be affected thereby, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, no action on section 4. Section 5, specific provisions to prevail. Specific provision to prevail. To the extent that a specific provision of this charter conflicts with any provision expressed in general terms, comma, the specific provision of the charter shall prevail, period. Comments, questions, discussion? Seeing and hearing none, no action on section 5. Section 6, rules and regulations. A copy of all rules and regulations adopted by boards and committees which are subject to the Massachusetts Public Records Act shall be placed on file in the office of the town clerk when approved by vote of the board or committee, and shall be available for review by any person who requests such information at any reasonable time, period. Unless an emergency exists, comma, as determined by the town manager, comma, no rule or regulation adopted by boards and committees shall become effective until at least 5 days following the date it is filed, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Hearing and seeing none, no action on section 6.
Hey, Larry,
Hey, Ralph?
quick question. So rules and regulations, I know the Conservation Commission 6-7 years ago took a vote that there would be no hunting on conservation lands. And I've tried to find where something like that would be written. So should each board have their own rules and regulations and then take that and submit it to the town clerk?
That's what it says. So
I
the
mean,
next
I'm
question is, Jeannie, do you get these?
I'm making a note because what I feel I should do is send out to every department and ask them what board or commission has rules or regulations. If I had a list of who should have them, then I'd know which ones I was missing. So
Good.
conservation, right?
Good point.
Conservation, Board of Health we have.
Right, right.
So how would I know if some
Right.
don't have them? So,
Mhm.
but that's.
And I just know that some boards take votes and it's in the minutes of the meeting, but once you switch members or whatever, it's lost over time.
Right.
So I think it was more of a general question, is if it's compiled and how it's compiled, and just thinking, that's all, thinking out loud, trying to fix all town problems.
I can see the smoke.
Yeah. Let me
Okay.
know when you're done.
Ralph.
Okay, moving on, section 7, computation of time. In computing time under the charter, comma, if 7 days or fewer, comma, or business days not including Saturdays, Sundays, or legal holidays shall be counted, semicolon. I'm sorry, did I say it right, Jeff?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
You didn't say only.
Yeah, that's what I missed. Thank
Yeah.
you, sir. Let me repeat again. In computing time under the charter, comma, if 7 days or fewer, comma, only business days, not including Saturdays, Sundays, or legal holidays, shall be counted, semicolon. If more than 7 days, comma, every day shall be counted, comma, provided, comma, however, comma, if the last day of the period so computed would fall on a Saturday, comma, Sunday, or a legal holiday, the period shall end on the first business day following such Saturday, comma, Sunday, or legal holiday, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing and hearing none, no action on Section 8, certification of election or appointment. Every person who is elected or appointed to an office or as a member of a multiple member body shall receive a certificate of that election or appointment from the town clerk, period. Except as otherwise provided by law, comma, every person who is elected or appointed to an office or as a member of a multiple member body, comma, before performing any act under this election or appointment, comma, shall take and subscribe to an oath or affirmation to qualify to enter upon the duties, period. A record of this oath or affirmation shall be kept by the town clerk, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Hey, Jeannie, do you issue a certificate to every person?
So they're initiated by the town manager's office, but when they come to my office to be sworn in and I give them the oath, they sign a ledger book still.
Uh-huh.
And then they have a certificate on file that they bring and I sign it and date it. I keep a copy, the town manager keeps a copy.
Okay, good. So no action on Section 8. Section 9, felony conviction. An elected official who has been convicted of a state or federal felony while holding office shall be deemed to have vacated the office, period. Discussion? Comments? Seeing and hearing none, no action. Section 10, subsection A, meetings. All multiple member bodies of the town shall meet regularly at such times and places as they may, comma, by their own rules, comma,
I can hear you.
prescribed, comma, or unless some other provision is made by bylaw, period. Special meetings of any multiple member body may be held if called by the chair or by 1/3 of the members thereof, comma, provided that at least 48 hours personal notice, which contains a list of the item or items to be acted upon, shall be given to each member, period. All meetings must be posted and comply with the open meeting laws of the Commonwealth, period. Discussion, questions, comments? Seeing and hearing. Oh,
No.
Ralph, yes.
Sorry. So we have multiple member bodies that are subcommittees. And you meet whenever possible. You don't have a regular scheduled meeting. Typically we say, well, when's everyone available for the next one?
Okay.
I mean, would that fall under by their own rules?
Sure.
Yeah.
Shall meet regularly at such times and places as they may by their own, unless other provisions made by bylaw.
I don't.
Yeah, it's just-
I don't know
Yeah,
that regularly means the same time, same place every week. It's not like we do it. We could meet different dates, different times, as we
Right.
prescribe by our own rules.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Just
Yes,
Just
I
like I
saw
said,
Bill's
think-
hand.
What?
I saw your hand.
Yeah, I mean, all I was going to say is this is just providing guidance for all the other, for every committee, what the process and the procedure is. It doesn't exclude anybody.
Okay,
That's all.
good. Any other comments? Seeing none, no action on section 10, subsection A. Subsection B, rules and minutes. Every multiple member body shall determine its own rules and order of business unless another provision is made by bylaw, and shall provide for the keeping of minutes and supporting documentation of its proceedings, period. These rules and minutes shall be a public record and kept on file in the office of the town clerk, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing and hearing none, no action on subsection A. Subsection C, voting. If requested by any member, comma, any vote of any multiple member body shall be taken by a call of the roll, and the vote of each member shall be recorded in the minutes, semicolon, provided, comma, however, comma, that if the vote is unanimous, only that fact need be recorded, period. I don't recall the reasoning behind this. Does anyone?
Sure.
Yes, Ralph?
So what it comes down to is typically on a normal meeting, not Zoom, you'll hear, let's say, 5 ayes and 1 nay, and some member may want it on record who voted against a specific item.
Correct. Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments, discussion? No action on subsection C. Subsection D, composition of multiple member bodies. All multiple member bodies, when established, with the exception of the library trustees, comma, shall be composed of an odd number of members, comma, of not less than 3, period. Whenever the terms of office of a multiple member body are for more than 1 year, such terms of office shall be so arranged that as nearly an equal number of terms as is possible will expire each year, period. Ralph, Bill, you recall why we accepted out the library?
Yes.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
go ahead,
Bill.
Ralph. Go ahead.
If I remember right, the library, by rule or regulation or something, had an even number of
Yep.
Library trustees.
That's what it is.
And
Okay.
I don't know why, I don't quite remember, but they do. And it was like, oh, okay, that just doesn't make sense. But that's the way it's always been with them, so.
What we just pulled up the MGL that governs library trustees and looked at their composition. It was like, I think 6 was the number.
I think so.
And, you know, we couldn't, obviously you can't change MGL, so we just went with it. And to Ralph's point, it's probably been like that since God knows when.
So all of these multiple member bodies, except the elected boards, are all appointed by town, for the most part, the town manager.
Mhm.
When the town manager appoints, are there already set terms of that appointment?
I believe there are.
On some of the boards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the planning board is a 5-year appointment.
Was that by tradition?
Isn't
don't
it
think
now
we
under
changed.
bylaw?
We didn't change any of the terms, I don't think.
Okay,
No.
We changed the fact that they'd all become appointed,
yep,
but I don't think we dealt with the terms.
okay.
The terms are listed in the general bylaw, though.
Right.
Okay, okay. Excellent. Any other comments or questions?
We
Seeing
need to
none,
slow
no
down.
action. I'm sorry.
We need to slow down. We're really cruising through all of these sections. At this rate, we're going to be done too soon.
We have to go back and do some things as well.
Oh, I don't think we have to worry about that, Ralph.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not getting out of it that easy.
Yeah, we presumed that these later articles would be quicker than
Yeah.
our first few. All right, so we're done with Article 9. We're now moving on to Article 10, which are transition provisions. And Section 1, continuation of existing laws. All bylaws, comma, resolutions, comma, rules, comma, regulations, and votes of the town meeting which are in force at the time this charter is adopted, comma, not inconsistent with the provisions of this charter, comma, shall continue in full force until amended or repealed, period. If the provisions of this charter conflict with provisions of town bylaws, comma, rules, comma, regulations, comma, orders or special acts or acceptances of laws, comma, the charter provisions shall govern, period. All provisions of town bylaws, comma, rules, comma, regulations, comma, orders, and special acts not superseded by this charter shall remain in force. That's the end of Section 1. And I just wanted to, for those in the public watching this, 2016, when the charter was approved by the voters and accepted, but that was the reasoning and need for these transition provisions. And so that's just a preface. Any discussion on Section 1?
So Larry, just a question in general. Obviously, these are transition provisions. At what point in time can they be removed from the charter, saying that we no longer need transition provisions because the charter has been in effect for 4 years?
I think that's a determination by the town's attorney to say when they may not be needed, because if there were ever a court case on some interpretation of a charter section versus what was existing prior to that and the timing of such, this may be needed. I don't have an answer when you could delete Section 1. And I don't know if you ever needed to.
I just think
Marilyn.
sometimes it causes confusion.
Yep,
Because this was to take place during the transition,
yep.
and people flip to it and read some of it, and it's like, oh, well, this says this, but this says this, and that's all.
Right. Yes, Marilyn.
Just to comment on the continuation of existing laws, the record keeping and some of the transfer of information has not been the best or perfect. And periodically, I know the council has dealt with traffic rules and regulations that had been passed by our Board of Selectmen or previous boards of selectmen that are, in fact, remain in force. And so we're slow. Occasionally, we find these that are out there that are still in force that we either need to amend or repeal. And there's one that I'm holding on until after COVID, and that has to do with used car regulations, which, Larry, we passed as a Board of Selectmen.
Mm-hmm.
And according to this, they're still in force. And
Correct.
so we need to decide what to do with that as well. So there may be these little unfinished pieces out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think the reason that it was written this way was just to bring everything, to provide consistency and bring everything over once the charter was approved. And I agree with you, Marilyn, because things are going to come up. And at that point, I think you just have to deal with them.
Case in point, Marge LaRocca, who has retired, found a box that said Board of Selectmen, and little by little, she was going through that box, reading the information, and then making an electronic file of this information.
Right.
I'm not sure whether that's been complete. you know, as I say, I have one that I'm waiting to have, you know, the right opportunity to present. So it is what it is.
Good. Any other discussion on that section? Seeing and hearing none, section 1, no act. Section 2, bylaw review. Not later than August 1st, 2016, the town council shall appoint 7 persons to be a committee to begin a review of the town bylaws for the purpose of preparing such revisions and amendments as may be needed or necessary to bring them into conformity with the provisions of this charter and to fully implement the provisions of this charter, period. If possible, comma, at least 2 of the persons appointed to the committee shall have been members of the East Long Meadow Charter Commission, period. The review shall be conducted under the supervision of the town attorney, comma, or, comma, by special counsel appointed, that's counsel SEL, appointed for that express purpose, period. The committee shall complete its review and prepare recommendations for the town council to enact revisions to the town bylaws within 1 year following the adoption of this charter, period. The town council shall vote upon the recommendations so submitted within 90 days of the receipt of the recommendations, period. Discussion, questions, comments? Yes, Marilyn.
This is one section that's been complete as far as the charter. Would it be appropriate to add completed by such and such a date or adopted by the council on such and such a date moving forward, just to let people know that that no longer applies?
I don't know the answer, but we certainly can pass that suggestion on where the town council can determine, since this was completed
Right.
and the recommendations were voted upon,
Right.
is this necessary? Or, I guess the question is, should it remain there just to be memorialized that it was done and just state this was completed on such and such a date? I don't know the answer.
That's what I'm suggesting. That's what I'm suggesting that we
Yeah.
add.
So is that a motion, Miss Marilyn?
Sure. I move that section 2 bylaw review remain in the document. However, there be some designation of the time and date when this, rather, that there be some designation when this vote was taken to complete this section.
I'll second that.
And was there was,
Can't hear you, Larry.
I'm sorry, there was town council approval of the recommendations.
Right.
Hey, Jeannie,
I can research that if you'd like.
you read our minds. Thank you. There's a motion on the floor, seconded, discussion. And the date that it was finally approved, Marilyn, would you allow that date to be inserted in your blank?
Sure.
Okay.
You say the motion over again, please.
That section 2, let me make sure I'm doing this right. I have to go back one page. Section 2 bylaw review be designated as complete with said date of town council approval for, for the vote to, I mean, what have you got written, and I'll fill it.
How about the recommendations were accepted and approved by the town council on whatever the date is?
Leaving this section as is, adding the language that Larry just stated.
Okay. Okay. Everyone okay on board?
I'm bored.
Okay, so
you.
all those in favor, let's start with Jeff Bosworth.
Yes.
Ralph Page,
Yes.
Marilyn Richards,
Yes.
Bill Fonseca,
Yes.
Tom Christensen,
Yes.
Phil Adams,
Yes.
Larry Levine, yes. Okay. Section 3, continuation of government and personnel. All town offices, boards, committees, commissions or agencies shall continue to perform their duties until reappointed, reelected, or until successors to their respective positions are fully appointed or elected, or until their duties have been transferred and assumed by another town office, board, committee, commission, or agency, period. That's the first paragraph in section 3. Questions, comments, discussion?
All town offices, boards, commission.
Seeing none, no action on that paragraph. The second paragraph reads, any person holding a town office or employment under the town shall retain such office or employment and shall continue to perform the duties of the office until provisions shall have been made in accordance with this charter for the performance of the said duties by another person or agency, period. No person in the permanent full-time service or employment of the town shall forfeit pay grade or time in service, period. Comments, questions, discussion? Seeing and hearing none, no action on that paragraph. Section 4, transfer of records, property, and information. All records, property, information, and equipment whatsoever of any office, board, commission, committee or agency, or part thereof, the powers and duties of which are assigned in whole or in part to another town office, board, commission, or agency, shall be transferred forthwith to the office, board, commission, or agency, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing and hearing none, no action on section 4. Section 5, effect on obligations, taxes, etc., period. All official bonds, recognizance. How do you pronounce that, people?
You did great.
Recognizance, obligations, contracts, and other instruments entered into or executed by or to the town before the adoption of this charter, and all taxes, assessments, fines, penalties, forfeitures, incurred or imposed, due or owing to the town, shall be enforced and collected, and all writs, prosecutions, actions and cause of action, except as herein otherwise provided, shall continue without abatement and remain unaffected by the charter, and no legal act done by or in favor of the town shall be rendered invalid by reason of the adoption of this charter, period.
Cognizances.
I don't know. Any comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, no action on section 5. Section 6, time of taking effect. This charter shall become effective upon adoption by the voters, comma, except as provided in this article, period. Questions, comments, discussion? Yes, Jeff?
I'm just wondering if we should put a date in there as to when the charter became effective or was adopted by the town voters.
That's a good idea. I'm trying to get that date for you. I think the date was April 12th, 2016.
Couldn't hear you.
April 12th?
I think the date was April 12th, 2016, but if you would like to bring a motion and Ms. Jeannie can confirm that, and then we can insert it later. How's that?
That sounds good.
Okay. So can I give you a suggestion of wording?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we would add a sentence to section 6 that said, the voters of the town adopted the charter on, and then we'd insert the date. So moved, Jeff?
So moved.
I'm not that quick. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bill seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor, Jeff Bosworth,
Yes.
Ralph Page,
Yes.
Marilyn Richards,
Yes.
Bill Fonseca,
Yes.
Tom Christensen,
Yes.
Bill Adams,
Yes.
Larry Levine, yes. It's unanimous. Section 7, election and elected, elections and elected and appointed positions. The first subparagraph is town meeting. The town shall hold a town meeting on May 16th, 2016, during which the budget for the fiscal year shall be enacted. No actions contrary to the charter shall be enacted during this town meeting, period. Town meeting shall be dissolved and the moderator position shall be abolished with any remaining term of office terminated on July 1st, 2016, period. Discussion, questions, comments? Seeing and hearing none, no action on that. Next paragraph, town council election and taking of office. Notwithstanding the provisions of Article 7, there shall be a town election on Tuesday, June 7th, 2016, during which all town council members shall be elected, period. There shall not be a preliminary election, period. For the purposes of this initial election of the council only, the number of votes received by each candidate shall determine his or her term of office, period. Excuse me. The 3 candidates receiving the highest number of votes shall serve 3-year terms, the 2 candidates receiving the next highest number of votes shall serve 2-year terms, and the 2 candidates receiving the 3rd highest number of votes shall serve 1-year terms, period. Nomination papers may be drawn beginning on the day following the adoption of this charter and must be returned by May 9th, 2016, period. Town councilors elected at this election shall take office at or before noon, 12 p.m., Eastern Daylight Time on July 1st, 2016. Questions, comments? Yes, Tom?
I just want to echo Ralph's point from before about this whole section. I do think we should find out or have town council review it to find out what can stay and what can go.
Okay.
I feel like coming up here, there's going to be a lot of interim stuff and this, that, and the other that may not need to be in the document anymore.
I hear Babe. Yes, Jeff?
I think the section that states the terms of office should probably stay, because that gives the basis of the founding of how the terms of office were established. I mean, that's just my thought on it.
Right, but I think that's, most likely that whole scenario is probably never going to happen again. But again, that's what I'm saying. If we can have the attorney look through this section, this whole article, and find out if there's anything that really needs to stay. I mean, it's not hurting anything, I guess, or maybe it is.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, Jean.
could you retain this part of the charter, but have it as like an appendix, or not part of the body of the charter, but the transitional provisions that are not in the body of it?
I think that's a question I put for
It's at the end.
Article, I'm sorry, for Article 10, to suggest to them, them being the town council, that perhaps some sections or portions thereof can be deleted, and they should perhaps have the town's attorney review and make a suggestion to them what should be done or can be done. Yes, Bill?
I think we talked about this, about eliminating it,
Good.
that it was there to show the transition,
Yep.
but then during the review, it could be possibly taken out because it really doesn't have any, it doesn't really pertain to anything now. I understand what Jeff's saying about how the terms were established, but now it's just in that cycle.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Do we want to go out on a limb and just say perhaps it should be, well, I don't know if all of the Article 10 you'd want to be deleted. Perhaps some of the sections that have been accomplished, and there's
Right.
little likelihood they'll come up again. But when we go past and get into sections 8 and thereafter, there are matters that perhaps should remain, because it talks about composition and some things that are duties of certain officers.
Right, but I think what we're talking specifically now is Section 7
Right.
in the transitions,
Yep.
because that just spelled out how the government was going to continue running during this period.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was from the period of April 16th to July 1st.
Right.
Because then it goes on to spell out how it works.
Okay. So are you proposing a motion? Or,
No, I think at this point, just have the town attorney look at it.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? So I'll just read the following sections and we can give a full statement for the town council to suggest that to them.
Larry, does that mean the two motions that were made are no longer in effect because we're going to talk to town council?
No, I would still suggest
Just leave them in there? Okay.
I would still leave them in. There's no harm in leaving them in. And then they can still get the advice and decide whether to
Attorney.
remove certain sections.
Okay.
That just gives some clarity to those particular sections. So I'm going to put that for that large paragraph. Again, suggesting what we spoke of to the council, but we're not taking any action on it directly. Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Next section reads, the town council shall meet on July 1st, 2016, following the taking of the oath of office to elect its officers, comma, establish interim operating rules, comma, and appoint an interim town manager who may be a town employee with sufficient management and administrative experience to serve in this role until the town council selects a town manager. I presume same issue?
Same issue.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think we're at time almost.
Thank you, Doctor. So, having seen that time has flown again, we will end at that paragraph. And I presume we want to meet next Tuesday, which will be November 17th at 4:30. Dr. Mackey? Is that good? Don, we can't hear you.
I think he left us.
No, he's sitting there.
He's got earphones.
He's listening to Benny and the Jets.
Yes, now we hear you. Next meeting,
Hey.
next Tuesday. I'm sorry. Next meeting, next Tuesday, November 17th, 4:30.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Everyone good with that day and time?
Yep.
Yes.
Excellent. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Marilyn moved it. Second
Second.
by
Second.
Bill. All those in favor? Jeff Bosworth,
Yes.
Ralph Page,
Yes.
Marilyn Richards,
Yes.
Bill Fonseca,
Yes.
Tom Christensen,
Yes.
Bill Adams,
Yes.
Larry Levine, yes. Stay safe, people. Good job today.
Thanks,
Okay.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.